going to, it's 6:32. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Director Duckworth is going to lead us. Okay, thank you. We are going to establish a quorum. We have 7 of 7 board members here. Moving on to approving the consent agenda and approval. Do I have a motion? Do we want to touch on? All right. Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes. We're going to move into presentations, awards, and announcements. And leading off, we have the Growth Committee here this evening. Who's going first? Well, I'll give you guys an update for 30 seconds, and then whoever is going to start that can come up to the top. So just to kind of give you context, we have some Growth Committee members here. We're going to do 2 phases. Actually, this is the 2nd phase of the Growth Committee. And we had the Growth Committee last year that we had started out, and it was very successful. And the point of the committee is to analyze growth around Anthem. And if any changes happen, what would happen if there was a new community that was built, that was added, or that came near Anthem? And a lot of the times we get little communities, little developments that ask to be annexed into the Anthem infrastructure, and they want to be a part of the ACC. And at this point, we have not accepted any new ones other than the Circle Mountain property, which was added to Parkside. So in the event, the Growth Committee put together some plans and ideas around potentially what would happen if available land was developed, and it was such a success. We started phase 2. We got really into some details, and today we're going to talk about that. So Dave Duckworth's going to start it off here with the Riverside presentation.
Okay, so I've got about 4 minutes to just give you an overview of what we did. So with the committee, we decided that we needed to put together a presentation that can accomplish a couple things. One is when a developer comes in and is either in bid for state trust land or is getting close to making decisions on the parcels that are surrounding Anthem, we want to be ready for them. So we have a presentation that we put together to present to developers, but also to present to municipalities like the City of Phoenix, such that if we get ahead with City of Phoenix and they know who is out there bidding for state land, they can also partner with us to make sure that we're approaching the right folks and being able to have some wherewithal with the surroundings of Anthem. So with that, I'm not going to give the presentation. I'm just going to give you some snippets of what we talked about. So through the sale of the state land trust parcels, creating an alliance with the developers and potentially other partners like the City of Phoenix, we want to be able to influence those surroundings. We want to manage suburban growth, get additional tax base for the City of Phoenix as an example, and also provide affordable housing to promote young families coming into the area. Obviously, there's rapid growth with TSMC, needless to say, and you just drive up 17, you can see what's going on, and so it's important for us to try to protect, quite frankly, the bubble that we're in. Our structured community management and the Anthem Community Council Resale Enhancement Fund provide tools to integrate and support new developments around Anthem. So the idea is that when a developer is serious about buying these parcels, we hopefully can partner with them at the right time such that we can influence the development, such that, and then the idea is, what do we provide to the developer such that they would want to partner with us? And that's a tough question because the developers have their own way of doing things. They have their own ROIs. But what we have is the Anthem brand. We have the infrastructure. We have the way to set up HOAs. We have the ways to build. So there are things that we can bring to the table to influence those developers. Now, there is a parcel of land across 17 across from the high school. There's about 800 acres. And Dino has actually been working on this, so I don't want to steal anything of the good work that he had done. But he, in working with Trevor and others, have put together ideas on what to do with that parcel. How many homes, what kind of homes, how many parks, what kind of amenities can be done with that 800 acres across the freeway from us. And the idea is that when that developer comes in to buy, obviously we can't do that, that we'll be prepared with detail to say, hey, have you thought about a community center? Have you thought about a swimming pool? Have you thought about a park? All of these things that will be part of that development. We want to try to influence. Our value to the developer is really extending the Anthem brand, really providing our existing structure, our financial models, our operations, our governance, our amenities. And quite frankly, for a developer who, in the case of Del Webb and what they did with Anthem, for us to come in with all of that infrastructure and provide it to them, there could be a significant value to the developer. We'll see. The value to us is fairly obvious. Strategic integration of a new development will strengthen our community fabric. The Riverside proposal, that's the term that Dino coined for the parcel of land across the freeway. He coined the term Riverside as an example of providing a roadmap for managed expansion and also tying and extending the Anthem brand so that we can help control our surroundings and make sure that we don't get overwhelmed with something that's not appropriate for Anthem. And then together we can shape the future that upholds our values and meets the needs of all current and new residents. Design guideline control, achieving a greater influence over design and zoning decisions, the look and feel of that particular development, and ensuring that the development aligns with Anthem's vision and community values. Again, the Anthem look and feel. So that's the idea. The idea is that we have control of the surroundings, and a whole bunch of work has been done, and I'll turn it over to the next speaker, but a whole bunch of work has been done to prepare the package such that we are ready to pull the triggers when we have the opportunity to partner.
Thanks, Dave. Up here, so this was the controller, so this was the presentation here that Dave was referencing. I want to show this map real quick because Trevor Carter, who's here, is a land developer who was on the committee, threw this map together, but this is a general idea. If you see here before Scott kicks in, and then Scott will do a whole intro on you, and also Jeff, I want you guys to tell everybody who you are. This is basically south of West Anthem, and this is a plot of land that's currently state trust land, and some of it's already annexed City of Phoenix for them to be able to come up and grab the outlets. But this land will eventually, might not be tomorrow, it might be in 20 years, but who knows? But it'll be auctioned off by the state of Arizona, and developers will purchase it and then develop it. So this is an idea of what that would look like, and if it did, it would behoove, like as Dave said, it would behoove Anthem to be able to have some kind of control mechanism to be able to, if they asked, annex into their homeowners association. So with that being said, let's skip all the way through here to your presentation here. Is this yours right here? Hold on. This starts on this page, right? Is this the first page? Anthem requests, value to Anthem. Sorry here. Is this your presentation? These are yours. All right. Here, Scott, why don't you come and grab this and you can flip through. Okay. Oh, is there one for that? Okay. Now you have two. Now you're extra powerful. All right, thanks.
Scott, you need to make sure you use the microphone because those in TV land cannot hear you unless you've got the green light on the microphone on. Sorry.
This is being recorded and streamed live to
There we go.
3 viewers.
My name is Scott Yoth. I am the current president of the Anthem Area Chamber of Commerce. My wife and I own Better Vision Eye Care over on the west side of Anthem, and I reside in Parkside. Thank you, board, for having us, and let me present this and what our findings are. So, real quick, just Anthem then and now. In 2003, there was a ULI report, Urban Land Institute, where they kind of did a survey and kind of looked at the development of the master plan community and predicted what it would look like in 20 years. And so Anthem at the time, 5860 acres, had in 2003, 5,000 homes that were, or lots that were already assigned and sold, when they were anticipating up to 12,000 by 2030. And for commercial space, at the time in 2003, I believe it was just under 300,000 square feet, and they're predicting a build out up to about 2 million square feet by 2030. And the residencies, I think at the time, was just under 10,000, and they were anticipating a growth of 25,000 residences. And so 22 years later, we see the population growth is pretty spot on. From 12,000 to about 24,000. The household income is along with the national average. The surprising numbers I think that caught our attention were the age, average age is higher. The housing costs, of course, is grown quite a bit, but the lack of meeting the commercial predictions kind of concerning. But you can see the bottom three lines where we only hit 1.3 million square feet, and 91% of our residents commute out, and so our economic attrition is pretty high in terms of our community goes. So I think something we see from this is trying to influence somebody that may be developing is to influence developers to bring in draw professionals, people in academia, something like that, where it brings the economic levels here and keeps the businesses here, including trade and so forth. Through that growth, we bring value as far as regulatory barriers and development hurdles that any developer is going to come across. We know the biggest one being water, and we hear about that all across Phoenix. And something that happened with Anthem was Del Webb, being the original developer, now known as Pulte Homes, they had to get water rights through the U.S. tribe. They had to get U.S. Congress involved. And so some of the steps and hurdles that these future developers are going to meet, we may have a blueprint for and bring tremendous value to influence what may grow around us. With those water rights, that happened a long time ago. We were in year 38 of a 99-year contract. So those are some figures to keep in mind and something that we can continue discussing and research a little more. But you can see here, that was done with the Auction Tribe. Some of the other things that include our unique situation in Anthem is the County of Maricopa and, of course, the City of Phoenix. And so those jurisdictions have different barriers, different hurdles to overcome, depending on what side of the land. If talking across the 17 freeway, knowing that's going to be Phoenix, we have some resources that can help if any future developers have a leg up. I think that's where we bring more value to. These are the additional ideas that we should bring. I think we should brainstorm around based on my findings and the report that we've seen from 2003 to now, as far as continuing hurdles and new mitigation that we'd have to address. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions so far on this? Okay, I want to make sure that we're asking questions throughout it. Thank you so much, Scott. Really appreciate it. All right, this is Jeff Huff.
All right, thank you so much. Jeff Huff, I live in Circle Mountain. I'm a local real estate expert with Berkshire Hathaway. I just wanted to thank the Anthem Community Council for supporting the Growth Committee. I was on it from day one, and we really I appreciate serving you guys in that manner. So my task this evening was to develop a tour to familiarize a potential builder or developer with what Anthem is. So as we all know, Anthem is truly a one of one, a community a lot of us call home. So as a local real estate expert, when I'm showing people, when people first move to Anthem or come to Anthem, what I do is I show them the amenities of Anthem. So let's get started with that. So the tour, the FAM tour, the tour that we would love to start and do would start at the Civic Building. So in this tour, we'd have a bus out in front of the Civic Building, and on that bus, we would it would start in the Civic Building. We would have the Anthem Community Council there. We'd have members of the Growth Committee there, the Chamber of Commerce, people in our community that have a lot to offer. So on that bus tour, we'd start off at a brief presentation at the Civic Building of the history of Anthem, the demographics, the vision for growth. Then based on that, we'd all get in the bus and we'd start our tour. So our first stop would be the Anthem Memorial and the park. Just a great place to be. Let people know, this is more of what Anthem has to offer. Then we go over to the community center. Now, again, as an agent, when I get people to first come to Anthem, I love taking them in the community center. You pull up to the community center and just the presence of it alone. You pull up, there's tennis courts. You walk inside, there's climbing walls. To the right's basketball courts, there's pools outside, workout facility upstairs. It really stands out. It's absolutely amazing. And then to boot, the pickleball courts. What I love to tell clients is it's going to be $100 for everyone in this car, and people just cannot believe that. $100, they would expect maybe $500 or something like that. So Anthem sells itself. So from the community center, we get back in the bus, and we go check out some other amenities that Anthem has to offer, such as schools, drive by the dog park, and then we eventually wind up at the potential development site. And at the site, we plan on having renderings of exactly what we're trying to do, what we're trying to sell. We're trying to sell the Anthem dream. And I figure at this point in time, we might even have some appetizers, maybe from By the Bucket. They actually provided quite a few of our snacks at our growth committee. Locally owned and operated restaurant by my wife, so we appreciate you stop by and check that out. So, and then from there, we'd probably get back on the bus and we'd have lunch somewhere. And I figured, we have a gem here, a one-off again, just like Anthem, the Bearded Barber. So we'd go to the Bearded Barber, end our presentation there for more questions and stuff like that. So that concludes our presentation by the Growth Committee tonight. We have one more presentation coming up in your next month's meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Yes, the By the Bucket was a treat. Great meatballs over there. So thank you so much. And that's the first part. So then the other half of the growth committee will come back next month at our next month's meeting. That's the last meeting of the year for November. We don't have a December meeting. They're going to present the final findings of phase 2 of the growth committee. So clearly, as you can see from a committee's perspective in Anthem, there's a lot going on. We've done and achieved quite a bit. Some great guys on the team. John Parsons is here, and then also Trevor Carter as well, in addition to those guys. And then thanks to Barb Patterson and Dave Duckworth as well on the committee. So moving forward, does anybody have any questions on the growth committee presentations? Okay. With that being said, we're going to move into staff reports and financials, and Executive Director Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. Appreciate you being here tonight. I thought I'd lead off with some exciting news. Maricopa County, they're going to be doing some slurry sealing of existing roadways in Anthem. So buckle up for a good time. Starts on Monday the 27th, runs through late November. They'll be doing this in phases. The map you see up there highlights the different segments they're going to be working in. This is done through Maricopa County. This is not done through us. We don't control the streets in Anthem. These are all public streets. But the crews are supposed to be providing door hangers in advance of their road work. The map is on the website and also on the back table. If you want to pick that up, see if it's impacting you and your neighborhood there. So I want folks to be aware of that going on. Next, we have kind of a laundry list of other items. Anthem Neighborhood Watch. They are still looking for a new chair and vice chair. So if you know someone or you are interested, please let us know and we can put you in contact with them. Great organization, do a lot of good. They're just looking for some people to help out because they're tired. So. Holiday hours, I want to make sure folks are aware of this. Here at the Civic Building, we will be closed on Tuesday, November 11th for Veterans Day. We will obviously still be having our event in the park. For Thanksgiving, we will close Thursday the 26th at 3. Then we'll be closed Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in observation of the holiday. And then for winter break, we're closed the 24th and 25th. And we'll be closing early on the 31st at 3 p.m. So that's the Civic Building for the Community Center. They'll be open Veterans Day from 7 to 7. And they'll be open Thanksgiving morning so you can get your pump on before you eat. They'll be there 7 to noon. And then on Friday, they 7 to 7 again. And then for winter break, they are closed the 24th and 25th. And then on New Year's Eve, they need to get in there early because they're only open 7 to noon that day, and they are closed on the 1st. So if you have a New Year's resolution, you might need to start in the park with that. Deer Valley Unified School District, there is a ballot measure. The board has asked that we educate our community and make sure folks are aware of that. We have information up on our website. We want to refer people to that and any other sources they find helpful in that, but we want folks to be aware that that's forthcoming. It'll be a mail-in election. Suite 203 upstairs, those are some business suites we've been leasing out. I'm happy to report that 7 of the 9 are leased out. We have 2 that are not. There are smaller, our smallest 2. We have an additional suite up there, but it's serving as a conference room right now. So that may yet get leased out as well. So we'll see kind of how that goes and usage there. So that's an update on Suite 203. Anthem Area Business Support Committee. Unfortunately, we've been trying to get the word out, but we haven't had a lot of response from folks wanting to participate in that committee. So we'll be doing greater public outreach efforts to make sure more people get involved. We've also sent it to the Chamber of Commerce to send to their members to see if there are any businesses who would like to be involved with that as well. So if you are interested, I believe that Directors Duckworth, McKenzie, and Hartman are on that committee as well, so you can reach out to them. If you didn't know already, we are streaming live on YouTube right now. So you can watch or rewatch at your leisure at any speed you want. So I can sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks. But this is why it's so important for people to speak into the microphone, whether you're up at the podium, you're here at the tables, or on the sides. It doesn't record. I watched our last meeting and there were a couple of points where it was, and I think that we should. And then it like died out. And I was like, oh man, I didn't get the details on that one. So it is helpful speaking into the microphone. I know it feels a little awkward at times, but the more you can do it, the better quality recording we'll get. So new library, the library district, I contacted them a couple of weeks ago. Mr. Reeder said that they are still working on final designs, final drawings, and they will announce publicly once they have approved drawings. I've been asked by several folks, what's the status of the library? That's what it is. And then finally, I would like to welcome Dee Nortman, our new Director of Finance. She joins us from a similar position at DC Ranch, a more formal announcement, maybe a glamour shot forthcoming. We are grateful to have her on the team. I also want to thank the whole finance team for the good work that they have done before she arrived here. They stepped up in the absence of a director and are stepping up now in support of Dee, and I really appreciate that. From them. So with that, that concludes my report. Any questions? I know we're doing questions between.
Questions, comments from the board? Nope. Okay, go ahead.
All right, we're on to Ms. Dahl.
Hi there. Just a quick update on the HR items that we have. Our current workforce snapshot is we are at 146 employees. With one open position in Scott's area, which I know he'll speak about. I put the graph up there so you could kind of see the onboarding and offboarding influx that we have with the seasonal employees. We are now starting to even out a little bit, but it just proves all the great work that Dana does and all the managers in order to bring in 109 folks for the seasonal area. So we're very thankful for their assistance on that. Employee relations and team building. We had our all hands meeting in October where we have the peer nominated all hands award. This month was take ownership for achieving positive results. The winner of that award was a team this time. It was Mike's group of Parks, Facilities and Constructions, their sports field technicians, David Emoseri, Sam Lawler, and Justin Hurst. One as a group just for the care and everything that they have done with the sports field. So we're very thankful for that. We had One of the individuals who had received it, not there on the left side picture, he was a proud new father, I believe, and was unable to attend. And then also just the morale committee causing trouble as usual. We kind of jazzed up the all hands meeting by doing an impromptu kickoff of the NHL season and did a little bit of a floor hockey. It was really for no prize, but it was kind of fun to see how many Arizonans do know how to hold a hockey stick and how to shoot it. So it brought a little life. And then we also just kind of celebrated National M&M Day on the 13th. I know small things, but it kind of lightens the mood in the workplace. So looking ahead for just training and development, we are working on the 2026 training plan. We're going to be doing a lot more in-house training with myself and Dana leading those, and that'll be including an executive roundtable where we'll meet quarterly on one particular book or subject, and then also the building blocks of the 101 supervisor manager, really kind of those emerging leaders in new positions that we're going to hopefully give them the tools that they need to manage their teams and for success with us in the future. Finally, just kind of our future projects and things that we have lined up. I think I mentioned this last time, but it's 2026 benefit renewal time. We're still waiting for that, so we're hoping to get those meetings in November and get everyone registered. The new handbook has been created and reviewed by the executive team and tossed over to legal for their keen eye on that. And we'll be having the employees look that over and sign that receipt when we get that. And Dana is really working hard on setting up the 2026 performance management process. We learned a lot last year with the new software, and we're really excited for this to be a little bit more seamless this year. So a lot of things moving for the new year. That is all I have. Any questions I can help answer?
Any questions from the board? No? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to really focus on using the microphone good here. I have a long list, so I'm not going to read every single thing, but we're going to hit some highlights for everyone. So the staff update that we have a couple things. Jim Rigo, who we've all met before, he's been promoted to a manager. He's now overseeing the Park Patrol, safety, and aquatics. So he's just one more person that can help with all of our good things out there. He was an Ironman finisher and was already helping with things, so we just wanted to make it official. He's done such a good job. And then we did have Allison Kakala's last day since our last meeting. And then we did not hire the person that we thought was going to come in, so that job is open again. But luckily we have a good team with some of our staff that have backgrounds in running camps and other children's programs, so we'll be okay right now. Nothing's on fire, maybe just a little bit of smoke. We do have a few new part-time staff out there. We've been doing a good job of reusing some of our lifeguards that are sort of aging up. So there'll be some helping at front desk and Park Patrol and other new things. So they're already trained and, we know they'll jump in as needed, literally jump in. At the front desk, if you haven't noticed, there's a lot more smiling faces and should be greeting you because there's a no phone policy that's been implemented for the last 30 days plus, and it's actually going really well, and that's because of our new supervisor, Danny Labella, so shout out to her. You may have noticed the TVs disappeared, and they will be coming back. I'd like to say that they won't, but they'll be coming back. We're working on getting some new wireless connections, getting away from the old cable boxes, which will really help not having to bring our lift and, doing it at 10 o'clock at night whenever we can't get certain channels to work. So that will be happening in the next 30 days. For aquatics, we have a couple new programs that have already started filling up. We brought back our adult swim training that's in the morning, 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then a triathlon training course to get ready for that triathlon coming up in December, which Jim will be running. We did just successfully host the Deer Valley Unified School District Swim Championship, swim and dive. There were over 150 athletes out at our pool and about 300 total people. And what was good for Anthem, besides, giving back to the community, was we made a little bit of money because of the pool rental. And for the first time ever, we charged admission to the meet. So we had about 100 people paid to spectate, including some regular residents just wanted to watch. So it was fun to see them out there. We're done with group lessons and open swim in October, but we still have our private lessons and all the other good swim programs out there. Pool's heated, feels great. So if you haven't been in a while, come check it out. Swim team programs are doing really well, and our private lessons programs are doing really well. And then we have our babysitting certification class again in November, which we run through our certified guard instructors as well. For sports and fitness, we got some really cool data from our digital tracking. I know we've talked about that before. Some of our newer equipment, we're able to track usage, and it actually was very interesting. We have some areas like where there was 5,000 miles on a treadmill and some where there was like 1,000 miles on a treadmill. So we're gonna use that data to hopefully move things around and make the equipment last longer. And maybe it's like, this is my favorite treadmill and I don't care where it's at, or maybe it's because it was by where a certain TV channel used to be. We'll find out. So just wanted to give that update. And then just a lot going on. We got all sorts of rec programs going on. The soccer season's full swing. The basketball season starts off. We actually are doing a new Junior Sons program, and some members from the Sons will be out here this weekend to run a free clinic. So that's a cool thing that's a part of that. We're running a bunch of new adult programs, plus our regular adult softball. The Turkey Bowl is actually gonna be Thanksgiving morning this year instead of the Friday after. So we're gonna see if that is a good thing or a bad thing. Either way, I'll be out there with my co-ed team that, again, never wins. I think I've said that before, so we're just in it for the fun. So if you sign up, you'll probably beat my team. We do have a few new classes. We got an afternoon yoga class that's going really well. I talked about the step class. That's gaining people. I think we had 6 people as opposed to just the couple people, so that's gaining some momentum. So we're really trying to beef up those afternoon and evening classes. Again, if you know anyone, send them our way. We got a fun new outdoor rec program starting. We're starting off with like a learn to fish out in the park that we're gonna run in-house, and then eventually we'll be doing some hiking programs as well where we can explore all of those great things that Anthem has to offer. We're helping run the Apple League that one of the board members knows what that is. It's the Arizona Pickleball Players League. We're running it as a program where they'll be getting all of their courts through us. It's very similar to how we run tennis, so this is a new thing we're trying out as well to, get people on the courts, but also get Anthem a little bit of revenue. And then we're really, I don't want to steal Mike's thunder, but we're really hoping the November 1st date is official once they finish all of their final walkthroughs for that grand opening. So I'm sure the board will hear more about that. But once we get the green light, there'll be a lot of fun things out there, possibly a DJ and some food vendors, and we're going to make it a big party. Speaking of parties, if you rent any of the Anthem amenities like our ramadas, cabanas, rooms, we now have a yard game add-on. I know that's something we talked about in the committee a while ago, and it's live. So we're giving it a try. Once you sign up, we've already got your info, and then you can click, hey, I want to have somebody bring these games out. We know we've got your info. We'll charge you if you don't bring it back. So that's live, and we hope that will turn into something that we can do a few more add-ons like canopies or tables or things that we already have. Again, getting revenue for Anthem in interesting ways. So that's going on. We had to move the parking during the Autumn Fest, but we had no issues with that for the student parkings, so that went really well. So shout out to staff for that. And then, yeah, just a lot of programs. The big one to know is dog park membership is open, so we're pushing for your renewals. We got all the fobs, so we'll turn you on. And we are running the dog rattlesnake training. We're not training the snakes, we're training the dogs. I know there's some confusion there, but that's this Saturday. So that's all filled up and that'll be running. And then we did have some really interesting data on the dog park membership that I'll probably share at a different meeting because that may take a couple minutes. But we really dug into the history of where we're at with the dog park membership. And I think with the things that we're adding, we could, you know, get the word out that the dog park's a pretty awesome place to be for your pets. So I'll share that at the next meeting. And then with our children's programs running, we are running a parents' night spooky drop-off this weekend, so they can dress up and we'll give some prizes and do some fun stuff. And then just lots of programs. So check it out on the website. There's way too many to talk about. A lot going on, but not as much as this guy next to me, which he'll tell you about after I answer any questions.
There's a lot going on. Any questions from anybody? Okay, thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Newell. So for parks, facilities, and construction, on the facility side, we've completed the community center main entry doors. They were just replaced last week. We just installed some switching to make them a little bit last a little bit longer. We've also are in the midst of the community center HVAC replacement. So Monday's crane lift went fine. I believe they have 6 out of the 8 units installed and operating at this time. We should be finishing up tomorrow. We have scheduled the mill and fill for the community center parking lot. Aaron Brown has done a fabulous job of coordinating that scheduling. The first section of that is going to start on November 6th, and the second section of that is going to start on November 18th. We will have maps. It will all be posted. It'll be on social media and at the building itself, so everyone's aware of when we're working. The community center will still be open, and you'll still be able to park there, just maybe not in your favorite parking spot. We have completed the entry conversion here for the Civic Building. We've also got the reserve window replacement for the Civic Building is also scheduled. We scheduled to follow, and we're still working on the Limble asset management system, which I should probably just stop talking about it because it's going to take us years to finish entering all that data. For landscaping, we've completed the turf overseed, and the grass has come back looking pretty good. We did do a few touch-up spots, but it looked all in all like it took very well. We've refreshed the flowers for the AVM, Community Center, Civic Building, just like we do several times a year. We've completed the turf conversion up at the Adventure Playground. We still have a tree to put in there and a little bit of curbing, but it's looking pretty good. The banner stands have all been installed, so this year you would have seen the banners for the Autumn Fest at the 3 locations. We've completed the tree replacements for the several trees in Paseo. We will begin the Christmas lights around the second week of November. We are also beginning a Paseo turf conversion. That's in progress. We're waiting for the materials to come in. Poly to PVC has been completed for the Panhandle. The planner for the Liberty Bell Park has been refreshed. We've completed the pre-emergent for Parkside. We've installed 12 additional cacti and straightened up a bunch of cacti that were injured by the excessive rain that we had. And we have the 2025 granite replacement project, which is sequenced with the poly to PVC. That is scheduled to occur in November. That date is still pending. In the parks, if it's softball 1, we've painted the fences and added some pennants to the field, so it really looks sharp and professional. So if you get a chance, go out there and take a look. We've completed our reserve replacement for the 2025 portion of the railroad ties, which we are doing on an ongoing basis because they do rot out. We've completed some concrete repairs at Soccer 4, and we survived the October Autumn Fest, thanks to Steve and his team. They did a great job, and I think everybody had a really good time, but I'll let him talk about that. And we are announcing that we are closing the Liberty Bell splash pad on October 24th. So it's finally cool enough that we can shut her down. For our construction department, we have scheduled the replacement of 2 of the larger pumps, one each in the north and one each in the south entry falls. They've finally reached the end of their useful life, and those should be in the first week of 2026. We are currently working on the engineering portion of the asphalt for the main community park. Hopefully we will have that information back and we can present that to the board at the next meeting. As of this morning, we just finished they're in the process of repairing a wall that was struck by a vehicle in Parkside. And we have 8 in-house wall repair projects undergoing right now, and we have completed 43. So along with the weather and the sports and everything, and we've just been staying busy with projects. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kevin Foster, the Special Projects Manager, and he can discuss the capital projects.
Kevin, before you start, any questions from the board? No? Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Kevin, thanks.
No problem. Thank you, Mike. So for capital projects, really pleased to present that the pickleball project is almost completed. There's a lot of points in here about just milestones in the project, but I'll skip down to where we're at currently. It says security camera RFP. We actually have the vendor under contract and is awaiting equipment. Court surfacing started on the 13th. That is completed. Signage is being manufactured, and the as-built have been submitted to the county. We're awaiting Maricopa's final approval on that. And fences will be going down tomorrow, and we should have grand opening on November 1st. For the locker room remodel, we've completed the demolition. Mechanical engineers working on the ventilation solution, and structural engineering working on the rust support beam solution. The plumbers working on replacing flush valves and new metered faucets have been completed. For the dog park, we've got the vendor under contract for the trees, and we've actually gone and picked out the trees, and we should be seeing those going in the next couple weeks. All their spots have been marked out at the dog park, so we got them lined up pretty good. We're reaching out to vendors for benches so we can have our internal department install those, and we'll work on the sequencing for that because they still have all their other tasks to be doing. And we're still on track to complete that project by the end of the year. For the existing pickleball courts resurfacing, multiple vendors have been sourced. We already sent out the RFP, had a site walk with 2 vendors. We're still anticipating 2 more. Confirming scheduling with them, and depending on the new courts opening and vendor workload. So we do not have a start date at this time. Is there any questions on that?
I do have a question. Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work on that. A couple of you have said that final approval for the November 1 ribbon cutting is when will you know? Because I'm hearing people saying they're not sure, or am I not reading that right?
No, we're just waiting for the county's final approval. We've already submitted that to them, and it's just a quick look at the as-built to double check everything. They don't need to come out on site. It should just be more of a clerical side. They've already been out on site quite a few times, so now it's just confirming the plans.
So any idea of when you'll know?
We're expecting to know by the end of this week. It should be a quick turnaround from them.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. And with that being said, I will turn it over to finance.
So I will be giving my first financial report with all the information that I've been able to absorb in my first week and a half. This will be a little more of a high level look at things, just a few bullet points on each report. And if you have any questions that me or the leadership team can't answer, I will definitely get you the answer. So taking a look at the income statement here, we see revenue and expense. Just looking at the bottom line and where we're at through September, through the third quarter, if you remove depreciation, we're at a net loss of $109,000. This is unfavorable to budget, or lower than budget by $41,000, which is just a fraction of the large $11 million. So I would say it's almost even with budget. From a high level look, revenue is under budget by $48,000. The biggest driver there is program revenue, and it's also offset by higher interest income. And expenses are favorable to budget by $8,000, almost very even with budget. A lot of pluses and minuses with the expense, but the highest variance is within professional fees, and you can kind of see that line item is the only one that's already spent the budget for the whole year. This is due to legal and consulting fees. Next slide. And this is a look at all three funds combined, the reserve and the enhancement included, and where we are at just as on a consolidated basis. And we're going to go over the reserve and the enhancement projects in just a little bit. And on the balance sheet, year to date, both sides, assets and liabilities and equity, have increased about $291,000. This is primarily due to an increase in cash and then offset by the depreciation expense. And here are the enhancement projects that are scheduled for this year. We're very close to budget on those. They're scheduled to be finished before the end of the year. And if there's any questions on those, I'm sure facilities can answer that. And this is a look at the reserve project. From what I understand, some of the scheduled projects were not necessary this year. So we'll have a savings to budget through the end of the year, so through 2025. And enhancement fees are favorable to budget by $35,000 through September, so higher than budgeted. The number of properties sold is on track to surpass 2024 by about 12% if we kind of stay at the same rate that we have been. The average property sales price is 4% higher than 2024, so all positive numbers. And here's just a look at the average sales price for the different areas as compared to the last 4 years and the total property sales. That's it. Are there any questions?
Do we have any questions from the board? Okay. No questions. Thank you so much, Dee. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dee. For communications and special events, the Anthem Veterans Memorial Paver Laying Ceremony is coming up this next Tuesday and Wednesday, October 28th and 29th, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. The public is invited, and the event is open to the public, and it is free. The Anthem Veterans Day Ceremony, November 11th, breakfast starts at 9 a.m. thanks to Tennessee Grill, and the ceremony starts at 10 a.m. This year features a very special MC, our very own Executive Director, Aaron Baker, and keynote speaker and retired Rear Admiral William Putnam, with guest speakers to include Bruce Kosovich and Dino Cotton. The end of the ceremony features the perfect alignment of the pillars and the solar spotlight on the Great Seal of the United States. Winter in the Park, Friday, December 5th, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the community park. This will be featuring food trucks, face painting, live music, local crafters, a raffle, and of course, the star of the show, Santa. The event is free except for the North Pole Pass, and that is on sale for $10 on Civic Rec. The Daisy Mountain Veterans Day Parade is on Saturday, November 8th at 10 a.m. The route begins at Gavilan Peak Parkway and Memorial and ends at the Anthem Community Center. The parade is free and open to the public. This year will feature the Frog X Parachute Team, and they will be jumping at 8:30 from a height of 5,000 feet and landing on soccer field number 1. Go Green is rescheduled for this Saturday due to inclement weather. The new location will be at Ridgeline Academy from 8 a.m. to 11, and please be in line by 10:45 and have proof of residency available upon request. Please enter from Gavilan Peak Parkway and exit through Daisy Mountain. It should be a straight shot right through there for everybody, just like it is at the park, so things should go very, very smoothly. And I do want to recognize Ridgeline Academy again for their help in this matter. There was no charge. It was just very easy to work with them, so thank you. And Market in the Park is just around the corner again, taking place on Sunday, November 2nd and November 16th from 9 a.m. to 2. This is a great opportunity for local businesses, artisans, and other food vendors to connect with the community and showcase their products and services in a fun and family-friendly environment. Booth spaces are available for just $25 and food vendor spots for only $40. Spaces are limited. Be sure to reserve yours today and join us early. And is there any questions from the board? No? Okay, I will turn it over to Chairman Cotton.
Yes.
Pardon me, I apologize. There was one update I forgot to mention that I think would be of interest to folks. On the business services side, Marriott Town Place, they applied for and received an extension on their new construction for their hotel. So I've had several people say, hey, what's going on with the hotel? Where is it? They have applied for an extension, which is allowed within the guidelines. They get one, and they have applied and received that. So just want to make sure you are aware of that as well.
Great, thank you. Actually, I do have a question, Steve. Would you mind just detailing and explaining the profit sharing arrangement that we have with vendors when they come for events?
In particular, the carnival.
In particular, the carnival, just due to what happened this past weekend.
Yeah, so we actually, Carnival actually pays us. We don't pay them for them to be here, so we get a cut of the profits. But what happened this time in particular is apparently there was a lot of overbooking all at the same time. And it being, this is basically their Christmas time of year for the carnival industry. So they booked themselves way too thin. And we will remedy that next year and for Anthem Days. What we're going to do next year as well to help us is we're going to hold Autumn Fest in the first or second week of November. It'll be a little bit cooler. Plus, we'll get a lot more rides and things like that. Because at the first couple weeks of November, the carnival companies are all starting to wind down, and they're coming back. A lot of them are actually right here in like the Chandler area. There's like 3 or 4 carnival companies. So as they're coming back to their home turf, that means locally we'll be able to have a lot more rides and whatnot for the carnival. So that shouldn't happen again.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That was a question asked many times this past weekend. So I really appreciate that. And then we're going to go ahead and any last questions before we move on? Okay. That was it for staff and staff reports and financials. We're going to move into, I'm sorry. Do we have a motion to approve the staff reports and financials?
I move we approve the staff reports and financial report with the sincere thanks of the board for the hard work.
Any second? All right. Director Hartman seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes. That being said, we're going to move into number 7, committee updates and action items, and I will turn it over to Treasurer Duckworth.
So the Finance Committee met yesterday, and we did have a quorum. We had a very interesting presentation by our financial advisor, and he reported that our year-to-date results on our investments, we've actually realized a 5.22% return versus the benchmark of 4.8%, which translates to about $21 million in investments, earning well over $1 million year-to-date. so that was a very nice report. The other was a discussion, a detailed discussion on the resale assessment and what we might do with that, which I'll defer to a conversation later tonight.
Thank you, Dave. And then from the Growth Committee, we saw the Growth Committee present this evening, so there's no update there. They will be here again next month to finalize their presentation. And that being said, do I have a motion to accept the committee reports?
I move we accept the committee report.
Do I have a second? Director Curl seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. We're going to move on to Section 8, Old Business, and that is going to be led off with the Community Center locker room remodel and the revised cost. And I will turn it over to Executive Director Baker and Director Mike Krask.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to lead out on this, and then I'm sure Mr. Krask can help fill in the blanks that I don't cover here. So as anyone who's ever done a remodel knows, once you get in, you find surprises. And so as we've dug into this, we had a contingency budget in place, but we have gone through that contingency budget on several items, and we can cover those. But we also discovered new things that needed to be fixed that are hidden behind the wall, mainly due to improper initial construction, water intrusion causing corrosion and mold infestation, and prior modifications to the environmental system. So let me kind of take these piece by piece here. If you look, you have kind of a financial snapshot on page 2 of your memo of how this breaks down. In the contingency, we've had engineering fees, permitting fees, plumbing, additional mold abatement, faucets due to corrosion, framing and drywall, again due to mold. And that is covered within our existing contingency, but now we started to hit things that weren't covered. Changing room partitions, toilet valve replacements, lockers that were rusty that we didn't know were rusty until we got in there and found the backside of them were rusting out. Since we have to replace those, we have to put tile under that now. ADA modifications to the showers. And then we've had some issues with the environmental systems there, and then we found rust on a structural beam in the building as well. So as we've tried to work through these pieces, we have some rough order of magnitude estimates here tonight for you. But what we've come to realize is on these 2 big ticket items, there are really 2 big ticket items that we have encountered. One is this rust on the structural beam that we wouldn't have seen or known until we opened it. And in talking with Mr. Krask, he's had some initial conversations with the engineer, and it looks like we don't need to replace that, but we will need to repair it. The webbing, it rusted through a hole in the webbing of the I-beam, and so we are waiting for final estimates on what that will cost to repair. We don't have a final price on that. So that's one. And then 2 is on the environmental control system. What we discovered through the process is that there was an original environmental control system in that locker room. Several years ago, it was replaced with a system that doesn't remove the air, it just recirculates the air. So we needed to restore it to what the original system was. However, this afternoon we got some information back, extremely high costs. It's a really moving target. So what we would like to do tonight is take that piece out of the equation for your consideration this evening and bring that back in November once we have a chance to competitively look at that, make sure that's the best value engineering answer that we have, because we don't know that today. we found out today they threw out an extremely high number that made us uncomfortable. So what we're looking for tonight, in short, is authorization to go ahead with the items that we've listed here under our change order, but taking out the environmental system and any work done with that. And what we would do is we'd come back in November, we report back to you what we found on the beam, what the cost is. We'll report back to you on all those costs, where we are, but then come to you and say, okay, if we want to fix the environmental system, this is what it's going to look like, or this is what it's going to cost us to do that. So that's what the motion would be slightly modified from what it is right now, because right now it's just a not to exceed. What we would look for is authorization to address the items that are in the change orders, but not the environmental control system, and bring that back in November.
So would you like a updated number? You have a suggested motion of 186,000 on here. Would you like to remove the line for AC mechanical ventilation and engineering for HVAC?
Not knowing what the the beam repair is going to cost us, I hesitate to give a number because what I don't want to do is say, hey, give us a not to exceed of $90,000, and then we come back and say it was actually 100. So can we still do it? I would like to have the tasks authorized, and we'll report back to you on the costs of those tasks. And then the real outlier, which is the environmental control system, we won't proceed forward with until we get authorization from you and we have better prices. I know that's a little bit of an open-ended authorization we're looking for, but I hope we've garnered enough goodwill and trust there that we can report back to you on what those are, and you can feel comfortable with our efforts on that.
Do you have any questions, Mark?
I do. So have we used this contractor before?
We have not.
First.
It's a first.
I'd like to just make it known that I'm a little bit disappointed with this. I don't know who it is. That's okay. To have a contractor come through, do a walkthrough, give us estimated cost for that, and it to be ridiculously higher. It's a little disappointing. It shouldn't be, I don't know what a reasonable percentage would have been, but not multiples of what it is. So I feel like we need to keep that in consideration in future projects if they bid. And I have no problem with, obviously we need the whole board, but I think we should move forward with the project and just kind of work around that situation right now. And you guys come back with more information on the, what did we call it?
Environmental controls.
The environmental controls. I think it might be worth noting what those are.
So right now, just for general public information, the system, when it was built, it exhausted air out of the locker room, so it would pull it out. So it'd pull out all the moisture and all the smells that are inherent in a locker room. That system was several years ago replaced with a system that it just simply recirculates the air and cools it. It doesn't actually exhaust it. So whatever's in there, that continues to be in there. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. So we're looking at options of how can we get a system back that pulls the air out, because it gets kind of muggy and gross in there. I don't know about the women's side. I haven't ever been in there, but on the men's side it does. We would be taking care of both sides, though, of that. So, Mr. Krask, is there anything I missed in that we need to make sure we cover?
No, in a general sense, you covered it very accurately, but we are researching multiple technologies because what was originally installed was a very complicated ERV. It's an energy recovery ventilator, and it saves energy while it's doing what it's doing, but it's an extremely expensive device. I've spoken with some other mechanical contractors, and we're looking at possibly using a different technology, possibly being cheaper, and we're also going to multiple mechanical contractors to make sure that we're not getting sold a Cadillac, quite honestly. And we were quite literally this afternoon is when we were notified of this sticker shock of, hey, surprise, it's going to cost you this. And I'm like, oh, no. So we are definitely doing the due diligence. We're doing the research, and we're researching the best result for Anthem, keeping in mind that we do need to exhaust the moisture out of those rooms because our issues are caused by water, guys, and moisture and mold. So these things all go hand in hand.
Any other questions from the board?
Yes, I do have a question. So I'm not sure what our approval is. Can you specifically say which items?
So what I would look for is a motion that says, I move to authorize staff to go ahead with the change orders listed in the memo with the exception of the environmental systems.
Okay, I still have a question.
Please.
I'm reading this, it says, starts with changing room partitions
Yes.
Okay, and so environmental.
That
is
would be
under
the AC mechanical ventilation and the associated engineering. So that's, and so you're not approving an amount. You're just saying, go ahead and do those, because on the structural beam, we don't know how much that's gonna cost, but it's not gonna be 80,000. Sorry, I left off a zero on that. I
Yeah.
apologize for the typo. It's not gonna be 60 to 80. We've heard significantly lower estimates there. We just don't have a final price from the engineer on that, and we don't want to slow down on that either.
So it's the first 6 items on there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the bottom 2.
Okay, so the structural beam is included. For some reason, I thought that you did.
So we're not doing this. This 60 to 80,000 was an estimate of replacement. The engineers indicated that we don't need to replace it, but we don't know how much it's going to cost to repair what they are recommending.
And you're recommending us to recommend it even though we don't know how much it's going to be?
Mr. Krask is
Sorry.
working on that as we speak. I will let you kind of give an update on where we're at.
This information, this financial information was collected last week so that we could publish this for everyone to review. The engineers have not been giving us any information until this afternoon when they said that the structural beam remediation is not going to be the worst case scenario of $80,000. They estimate it to be at $30,000, but it was a verbal conversation. It's not in writing. And the HVAC or the mechanical, that's when they gave us a real sticker shock and they said, hey, it's going to be a couple $100,000. And I said, okay, hold on, you know. So these numbers aren't rock solid. What we're trying to do is get approval to proceed with everything except the mechanical HVAC work because that is such a big ticket item. We are not going to spend all the funds. We're not going to say, hey, we've got all this extra money from the beam and we're going to go buy this. Obviously, we will continue to save as much money, but we need approval to proceed because these change orders are above and beyond how much finances we've already been approved to spend.
So if the structural beam people come back and say it's more than 80,000, you're gonna like tell us or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
No,
it just feels like
I
we're signing
appreciate
a
that.
check.
Yeah, no, I totally
Sorry.
appreciate that. As soon as I know, I will inform you, but I don't know, so I can't give you a firm number. So that's what I'm saying. We need a little bit of trust here in the sense of approve us to do the task, and I will keep you updated on what things cost. I understand the hesitation there on that part.
Question for you, Mike.
Sir.
Given our environmental circulation issues with the locker room, is there any concern on the other bathroom that's behind the offices for the same situation? Like, is there a chance that this might also be a problem there with the recirculation? Because it's a smaller bathroom, but it gets a little muggy in there. So
it does, and I know what you're referring to. That issue that you've noticed is there is a switch behind the storage shelf in the closet that if you turn it off, the fan shuts off in that restroom. That occurred at one of the previous remodels. And I'll be honest, the chair, I'm always terrified. You don't know what's in the walls. The building's 25 years old. We know some of our problems are caused by poor construction methods or just not following code back in the day. It's behind, it's hidden. You never know. And they're called undiscovered conditions because of just this reason, they're undiscovered. You can surmise we actually had an estimate for mold because we knew showers kind of mold. We didn't realize we had 25 years worth of mold that was actually eating through a 1/4 inch thick steel I-beam.
those pictures were
That's
Yeah.
egregious. I'm concerned, but I don't see it as an active concern. It's not like black mold or anything, but I can't guarantee anything.
All right, so just for clarification, on the motion that they're looking for on the change order, everything listed minus the engineering for HVAC and AC/mechanical ventilation.
And we're looking for authorization to perform those tasks. I will report back to you once I have a firm price on those.
That being said, do we have any questions or comments by the board before we move to a motion? Anybody? Okay. And I will, who would like to make a motion? Go ahead.
I move to approve the tasks listed under future change orders due to undiscovered conditions, minus engineering for HVAC and AC/mechanical ventilation.
Okay, we have a second. Now, if I'm doing this right, we have to, now I go to board comment and question. My apologies to our legal team on that. So we didn't have any comments or questions from the attendees today? No, this specific thing. Thank you, Brian. All right, that being said, I'll hold a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. We will be in communication.
Okay, great. Then we're going to move on. Is there another one under that same section?
Nope, new business 9A.
Okay, then we're going on to new business 9A, amendment to board policy manual section 7.2.12 and 7.2.33 discussion. Okay, and then I will start that off. Obviously, we have a policy that is current with our signage in the buildings, in the civic building, in the community center. The current existing policy states the use of masking tape is permitted in decorating nails, hooks, screws, tacks, staples, putty. I won't read all of this. It is in the board packet. I assume the board has read all of this as well. The major point is that signage is not permitted in common areas unless under the acceptance of the civic building manager, who must approve all signs and banners prior to placement. This new proposal will tighten that policy. For decoration signs, flags, or banners may not be affixed to windows, glass walls, or doors outside the civic building or community center. It's picking up and piggybacking on the existing language that's already in place. Any comments from the board? Director Barbie?
I do have something to say about it, and full disclosure, I was part of getting this on here. I think that the draft that we put together, including decorations, I'm having second thoughts about. The reason was because of this building in the community center, we have a lot of kids' birthday parties. So if we're just using a blanket statement of decorations, now balloons, happy birthday, Johnny, all those things could technically be taken out of that. And I feel like a lot of weekends, especially now that the weather's becoming nicer, that might affect the ability to do things like that. And I'm trying not to affect, the masses.
Is there any suggestion that you'd see in the proposed policy amendment that you would suggest to adjust or add?
It would be the language of decorations. That would be the only thing that I think that I wasn't thinking about when we moved this, when we wrote that, the possibility of change.
So there's a section currently in the rules that is called decorations. Okay, so you would not want to adhere that to the decorations. Okay, Any other comments from the board? Barb?
Yes, I do. I have many thoughts in my brain about why we're doing this, because what is wrong with our current signage policy that we need to clarify? I guess that's my first question. Do you want to address that, or should I continue on?
Absolutely. So we actually had a budget meeting that was in here the other day, and right before the budget meeting, there's a guy named Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck, and it was a political shot. And it got me thinking. Aaron asked if we wanted to do a moment of silence, and I just said, no, let's just move forward with the budget meeting. And it got me nervous personally about political affiliations or group affiliations that would occur, especially with regard to the staff. So I thought about it, and I thought, if there was a group that wanted to hold a meeting here, and there was another group that could be viewed, I didn't want to put any kind of staff at risk, or additionally any kind of representation that the Anthem Community Council would have to a certain group. So if there was I'm not going to name different group names, but you could imagine that there might be a group that might be controversial to another side or something like that. And they had something here. I wanted to make sure that there was no representation, there was no show of representation or any misconstruing of representation that the Anthem Community Council was a representative. Hence the verbiage in there was restrictive to 8.5 by 11, and that if you fly a banner or a flag or something like that, there has to be, you can't do a flag, but it has to be accompanied by a written text designation that explains what your group is, and that there is currently a meeting in place that's occurring. It basically is adding a little bit more detail onto the current policy, which already states that there is not allowed to be any kind of signage or anything on the exterior of the building that's representing outward. This is saying that it's into the common areas, and also there's a current policy that says no signage in the common area. So this is a kind of a housekeeping, cleaning up policy kind of decision. There's no sweat off anyone's brow to consider it and to approve it, but I thought it would be something, a considerable discussion to be able to come up. Now, that being said, we can always amend any of the stuff. This is a two-part decision. We have a purely discussion today, and then we would go to a potential vote next month.
Okay, I have my second question.
Yes, please.
If I'm renting a room, so you're restricting me from putting no, you're not gonna, I can have decorations, right? Decorations might include flags.
Yeah, you can have all that. You can have all the things you want.
But where can't I have it? If I'm,
So in the policy, in the suggested stuff that's in the packet that we have listed, that you can put all that stuff in your room, you cannot adhere the decoration, a flag, to the exterior of the room. So if I had a meeting, and you could not hang a flag on the door of the meeting facing into the common area. If you did
but that's on the interior, wouldn't it be on the interior? Here's the thing that kind of bugs me is I can just see people getting really upset about not being, who's going to decide whether my decoration is the same as what you might like? If I rent the room, shouldn't I be able to have my room like I want it? So I'm not clear about where I can put. So, here's a glass piece. So I'm just not sure where we're limiting and why we're changing it.
So you cannot have your room however you want. There's current policy that's written. You are not. If you go to the community center, I cannot have my room however I want it. Is that correct, Scott?
Inside the room. Inside the room, you can.
Inside the room, you can have it how you want to have it.
Halloween decorations or piñata or whatever.
Right.
Inside the room.
If I was going to have a birthday party, could I put a large sign or a sign up in the entranceway of the community center entrance?
I believe it would have to be staff approved.
It would have to be staff approved.
Be approved like a group.
No,
So this would be the same thing.
but it's my room. I think some of the additions in there say that I can't put up some signage inside my room. Is
Oh,
that
it doesn't
not
say
true?
that.
Oh, okay, so I can put, if I have a clear glass pane, I can put anything over that clear glass pane that I want.
Not exterior facing. You can put anything inside of the room. You can see inside the glass painting from, if you read it, it's all detailed on there.
Okay, so are we having some, questions from people? Is this an issue? Why are we changing this? Have people been complaining?
This is a refinement of the process. I've heard some complaints, but this is something that myself and Director Barbie brought up to the agenda.
And decorations, so I can't put a happy birthday on the glass pane. So my happy birthday has to be inside the room, right? Is that what? Okay.
Correct. It has to be in every other, it can be in the room and every wall of the room except outward facing on that glass panel. That's what was listed in the suggestion. Any other questions?
If I may, I just want to say there are some operational questions we are continuing to work through. We had initial discussions as staff, and we want to make sure that we understand fully this. So I think what we're going to do over the next month is continue to work on this, make sure that we understand that language properly, so that we are, if it's approved as proposed, then we can understand what the ramifications are from an operational point of view, because the way that it sits, it would modify activities currently practiced both in this building and the community center. So for example, if someone wanted to put a sign outside their room, not at the entrance of the community center, to say, hey, Timmy's birthday party right here. I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly so that we can properly apply it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll continue to work through.
Part of the two-part process,
Yep.
obviously, is bringing up a topic. This is what we do, and then refining it, and then coming up with any suggestions the board wants to have something. Mark expressed concerns over decorations, but any refinement to that verbiage, and then we can go to a vote next month. Yes, Dave.
You know, while I respect your intent with the changes, I think the practical implementation just makes the whole conversation mute. I mean, we just had an earlier conversation. We came up with about, I don't know, 7 to 10 different variables of how this would be implemented. I just see this creating a whole can of worms that just becomes impractical. So I see it as a solution, solving a problem that isn't really there. I mean, no one's complained. It's been working fine for however many years. I just don't see the need for it.
All right, I appreciate that. Any other comments? Yes, Bob.
I agree with Director Beckman. I think this is a solution and search for the problem.
Okay.
Further, I think that we ought to defer this to Executive Director Baker and legal counsel to rework the language to get some of it to the top.
I agree. If you had any questions or variables, please email them over, and then we can work on refining that verbiage for next month's meeting. Any other questions? Okay, perfect. And that'll help them be able to, give them a month to be able to do that. All right. That being said, that was a discussion only. We're going to move on to new business B, background checks for board member candidates discussion. And so this is just adding background checks for ACC board members. Any comments or questions on this? Director Curl?
I'll put my 2 cents in just so it's out there. Dino and I had obviously presented this a year, 2 years ago. I don't even know the time frame now. The reason it was brought up is solely because I know, and we are fully aware that while the board does not directly have their hands on some of the finances, some of the other items that we had highlighted in a previous presentation included things like just the trust the community has in the board of directors, our interactions. Sometimes, for example, Dino led a group of youth at one point, a leadership group, him and another chair at the time. They had these youth in their home and items like that. So if a board member wanted to do something like that, I think it would behoove the board to have background checks in that regard, or for those reasons. A couple other items that had been brought up, obviously, is different legal, historical legal context, I guess, that we did discuss and we have discussed with our legal team. And we do understand those. Obviously, every decision we make comes with a risk. But when I do look up myself and some of the information I find I have questions, I guess, surrounding if we would be looked at as, obviously, we are a civic league under a 501c4, and different cases I've seen where a lot of other 501c4s and 501c3s and things that classify themselves and groups that classify themselves that do run background checks. And on our website, you guys can see, anyone can look, that we have verbiage and verbatim says volunteers are required background checks as well as staff. So we are a board of volunteer homeowners. So those are just little things that stick in my mind. I just wanted my 2 cents out there, and that was the reason for this proposal. If it doesn't pass this time, I will rest my case.
I'll just make one point. It is to prevent individuals with violent crime, felonies, fraud, sex offenses, or financial crimes from serving on the Anthem Community Council and governing the community of Anthem. So, Tanya, if we could ask you, there were some questions earlier regarding background checks. When you run a background check, what comes back? Is there a level of detail? Is it a red light, green light? What comes back on those?
Yeah, so the individual who runs it, such as myself, I would get more detail than probably the employer, whatever they were hiring, but it's all public record. You can Google and find a lot of it anyway, but if I wanted something on a criminal check, it would tell me what the crime was, what the time was, what year, some even go into time served, negotiated to community service, whatever. But it also gives you the state and the city. So anything that's out there, public record, is what is on there.
How often do you run background checks?
You mean
Every employee, every volunteer?
Yeah, absolutely.
How often are those, or how much do those background checks cost? Do you know? We
50, Dana?
$40.
$40 a background check.
Yeah. Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
Dave, yes, please.
Yeah, so just my 2 cents. So while we're a nonprofit corporation by definition, and we have members, what's very unique about us is that we are actually look and act like a municipality where members aren't voting, members aren't being hired, residents are electing. And that's what makes this whole thing different. And to all of a sudden create a criteria that's right now not defined that would prohibit someone from being elected based on whatever we decide, I just don't see how you can do that when you have an election. So that's, to me, is what makes this thing very different. We did hear from legal that they're not recommending this for various reasons I won't get into right now. So I tend to like to listen to my legal team when these kinds of things come up. The last thing I would say is if we did this and we approved it, I would say that we shouldn't just approve it for new board members. Think about this. We should approve it for existing board members. And then what do you do? So let's say one of us didn't qualify based on whatever criteria gets determined. Then what do you do? So think that through in terms of the practical implementation.
So you're saying that you want that to be in the verbiage?
What I'm saying is I'm using that as an example of the sort of impracticality of the proposal. Because if you did it, then what you should do is do it to the existing board members. And then if one of us didn't qualify based on whatever the criteria, I mean, I had a traffic ticket 5 years ago.
I don't believe that would be a criteria.
We don't know yet, because we don't know yet. 'Cause that
So,
hasn't been
so I'm
defined.
gonna turn back to the board packet, which I hope the board members are reading every month. But these things are detailed in the agenda.
I read the board packet, and there's nothing
So in it-
specific about the criteria for disqualification.
Okay, and we reference, okay. So
So
those are all things that we can add for next month. It's a two-part item.
I would like to add to this, we do have criteria for removal now, in the rules now. If for some reason this gets shot down, I think we clean up the verbiage make it clear in the current document. There is something in there that basically says 2/3 of the vote, you can remove somebody if A, B, C happen, if something happens. We clean that language up, and that solves or is an alternative to the background. So if something comes up, whether that's offered as information from the board member that they're telling them on their own, I just think that we could do it with the current rules by cleaning up the language.
Interesting, thank you. Anything else, Bob, please?
I didn't like this policy when it was first proposed, and by the way, that was August 23rd, 2003. I hope this gets shot down again. I've been on this board 11 and a half, a little over 11 and a half years. I've served as chair and vice chair for 4 of those years. I would not, in a million years, want to make a judgment about who could run for this board based on the criteria written or any other criteria. It's not my job. It's not my business. It's the voters' business.
All right, thank you, Bob. Anybody else?
Yes, I have some
Barb?
comments. I think it opens us up to liability cases. Let's say that there was something that is misread on the background check, and it isn't really true. It's an identity kind of issue. Then what recourse? I mean, the way that it's written, it's one of those things where implementation is really difficult in this case. And the way that it's written currently, the chair and vice chair would be making the decision about whether that person would be able to be considered for a position or not. And if I were chair or vice chair, I would not want that pressure on me. So I think implementation of this would be very difficult. I think it's up to the voters to do their own homework on each individual person. And our attorneys are saying that it's not necessarily a viable choice for us, and that's where I'll stick with them.
Appreciate that. So we did talk about, Executive Director Baker referenced that, and he brought up a really good point, that it would be the only person who could really review those background checks would be legal counsel. And then they would receive that and it would remain confidential.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Please, yeah.
That was my proposal, as Chair Cotton brought this forward. I said, hey, I don't like the idea of that liability being on the ACC if something were to get out. Certainly staff shouldn't be making that decision. That's we're deciding on our bosses. That's not appropriate. If a board member has it, you still have that same risk of information getting out, interpreting it incorrectly or correctly. So I have had a conversation with legal counsel about what happens if legal counsel reviews it. And they have responded back and said there need to be very bright lines. They said, we can't make a judgment call, but we can tell you yes or no, kind of a binary decision. It's not a, hey, well, this is on the line, so we can't have them do that ethically, but we can have them say yes or no. So if we bring this back next meeting, I would suggest that we reframe this language again and transfer that risk to legal counsel if we update the policy that way. Obviously, there's some questions there of what are those criteria, and that would need to be vetted out as well. But I wanted to bring that point up of, I don't think it's wise for the ACC to assume any of this risk for the reasons talked about by others.
Thank you. Laura?
Okay, so I've been background checked numerous times as a Girl Scout leader working at Children's Hospital, fingerprinted with the FBI. You know, so I've been down this road. Plus, working in HR, I have read some of the background checks, and it can be confusing. You know, sometimes some courts are very clear what's happened, and others are not. So, and again, listening to legal. It just has given me some things to think about. I don't know that I could support it, but maybe depending, I think if we were a little more specific, because I noticed one of the things that you wanted to check was social security numbers. Well, why? Why do I need to verify that? So, I mean, I think there's some things there that maybe we need to look because we are out and about with the community, we're interacting with kids. That might be one consideration, but I don't know that we need to verify everything that you've listed.
Yeah, that feedback would be great. If you had any suggestions, Laura is an HR professional as well. If you wouldn't mind emailing Aaron, that would be great. We could really refine the verbiage for next month. Yes, Dave.
I'm not sure if I can do this, but I'm going to try. I'd like to make a motion that we table this and not spend any more time on it based on legal's recommendation.
This is for
I don't want
discussion.
to have Aaron.
You're wanting to remove it off of the agenda? That was so.
Oh, like I said, I may not be able to do it, but I'm going to try. I don't want Aaron spending any more time on this. Legal's already told us this isn't a good idea. So why would we expend more legal cost and more personnel cost? So I move that we table it.
I don't know if this is a legitimate motion or not, but I'll second it.
Well, before you guys do that, can they make a motion to remove an already agendized item that is currently under discussion for a vote next month?
To me, it's not removing the motion. I'm looking at this from a plan community standards on agenda noticing. I think is our big implication. If the board believes that the notice they've put out to the owners is sufficient to identify that this was something that was contemplated for a vote this evening, I think you can take the vote. I'm trying to scroll back to our agenda. Does it clear that
It's there actually on the TV screen. So our agenda title did say discussion, and the top line of the memo says this item is for discussion only. Board could consider it for possible action in November.
Yeah, so I don't believe a motion is appropriate. I do believe the board could give staff guidance to not expend additional resources if the intent is not to reconsider it, regardless of the changes we might make.
I would like to provide staff guidance to. No.
All right, noted. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's any other questions or comments, now's the time. All right. We're going to move on to Liberty Bell Park discussion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Foster is going to talk about, well, let me give a little bit of background here, and then I'll have Mr. Foster jump in. Earlier this year, the board took a motion or made a motion to continue to look at Liberty Bell Park. And so we have started that process of public outreach to hear what the residents would like to have happen in that area. And so we've posted 2 signs at Liberty Bell Park. We've established an online survey. We've sent it out in emails as well. And the sign out there states that we are taking input at the October and November meetings for residents to come and provide input. And then we're talking about the possible formation of a working group based on the feedback that we receive. So that would be after the November meeting. We would do something similar to what we've done with the dog park, where we'd have some board members participate in that. And then we would have some residents as well participate in that. We haven't had anyone express interest yet directly through our online survey there, but that doesn't mean that won't happen. but then they would work through December and January, and they would bring back a recommendation for the board's consideration at the January 2026 meeting. So there is $500,000 budgeted out of this from the enhancement, and there are some additional reserve funds available as well. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Foster to report back on what we've heard from residents so far.
Thank you. So the intent of this is to present the results in a clear, neutral format to assist the board in understanding overall trends and potential next steps. So I summarized the input from the signage. Refresh existing amenities, we had 13 votes for that. Keep the park the same, 9 votes. Add additional amenities, we had 7 votes. Add additional services or rental space, we had 1. Repurpose sections of the park, did not have any votes for that. And then other was the open-ended comments, and we had 6 of those. The first one was expand the park with more community areas, basketball nets, soccer goals, updated splash pad, more parking and shade, no adult workout area desired. Number 2, add basketball courts and a volleyball net. We actually received 2 responses that stated the same thing. Number 3 was bring back the Hastings Field project. Number 4, add key code access to the splash pad, more shade, tables, and slide improvements. 5, update splash pad water features, add playground shade, turf seating area, and a rentable ramada with a grill. So possible paths forward, refresh the existing amenities, explore opportunities to update or replace existing park features, water fixture, playground elements, site furnishings to maintain functionality and visual appeal. 2, maintain current park position or conditions, excuse me. Continue standard maintenance and existing programming without major modifications to the current park layout or amenities. Replace sand, wood chips, or playground equipment per the current reserve schedule. 3, add select amenities. Suggestions include add shade structures, artificial turf, picnic area within the splash pad area. Add shaded picnic tables for parties at inside or outside the splash pad areas. Add ramadas with grills either inside or outside the splash pad areas. Add frisbee golf, volleyball, or basketball courts to the playground area. Add additional playground equipment within the splash pad area. Add shade structures over the existing playground. Number 4, evaluate additional services or rental opportunities. Assess potential demand and feasibility for rental features or recreation elements. Add key fobs or access controls. Bring back the Hastings Field project. Number 5, defer major changes. Revisit potential redevelopment options at a future date following additional community input or funding opportunities. So those are the possible paths forward based off of the input that we received from the signage that we put out. So I'll turn this over back to Aaron and the board.
So we are going to continue to advertise. So our sign up in the park right now says there's a meeting today and then there's a meeting in November. And so we're keeping the survey up. We'll continue to publicize this, but at our November meeting, we'll have kind of a summary of all of the data updated there. Like I said, at that point, we would like some direction to say, okay, hey, form a working group with these general parameters around it so they can kind of focus in on what they want. There, and that would be based on your thoughts and feelings and the input that you receive. So,
well, thank you for holding that. That was great. It was great information. We have Barb. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So are these all anonymous? So we don't know who's
we don't have any names associated with it.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
So do we have anything where we can find out who would like to be a committee member on that, or how?
There's a link on when you go to the survey,
Yeah.
at the bottom of the survey is a link that says, hey, would you like to participate in a group to help bring these ideas to fruition?
Yeah.
No one's clicked on that and filled that. Maybe someone's clicked on it, but no one's filled it out.
Okay.
We would like them to,
Right.
but we may have to go out and kind of solicit people.
Okay.
Or if you know people, but they don't have to live immediately around Liberty Bell Park. I mean, it could be anyone within Anthem who is interested and wants to help. So,
Any comments or questions from the board? Does anyone have any thoughts on what they'd like to see over there? I have a couple points. My kids are all grown past going to the splash pad now in that area, but I used to take them religiously. We would be there all the time. And the one thing that I noticed is we would do birthday parties there, and there were never enough chairs and tables. So that would be the bare minimum. I think that you could add more. More shade structure. There's a lot of open concrete. In the summer, it gets really hot. So I'd be open for that. And then when we first moved to Anthem 13 years ago, there was a nice open grass area. And then for some reason, they removed all the grass, put rock, and then created a concrete barrier and then minimized the grass area. Probably because grass was hard to maintain or it was dying from the tree shade. But just my points would be bring back that open grass space. It was nice to be able to like lay out and have a picnic. And then also chairs, tables, shade.
Let me just plant this seed right now. Some people might not like this, but the question is synthetic turf in there as well. I know in the summer it's hot, but as we've talked, as Mr. Krask and I have tried to brainstorm surfaces that people can sit on that are comfortable, that will grow, because some of the issues you're talking about are shade. We're having that issue with
Is there
grass.
synthetic turf there right now? I haven't.
No.
Okay, yeah.
No. But that's my question is, we want to get a hospitable surface, and so we're trying to do some research to see if there are any hospitable surfaces that you can sit on that will grow in that area. But so if you have ideas this month as well, if you see something somewhere, you're like, oh, hey, that's really nice. But grass itself is not going to work underneath there just because of the shade. But we're totally open to ideas of what you would like to see there that makes it comfortable for people to sit and have a picnic. I think we all understand that concept.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. If nothing else, any comments on this specific topic from anybody in attendance tonight? Okay, we're going to move on to resolution, so this is going to be 9D, Resolution 2025 R18, Amendment to Declaration Resale Assessments. So, Executive Director Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will try to be brief on this. What we're proposing is the introduction of a resale assessment. This is common in other areas, common in other developments throughout the area. There's a table referenced in the, it's actually in this memo as well, showing what other communities are doing there. I want to give credit where credit's due. Mr. Montano brought this forward. As we discussed this during our last meeting, this would be a $300 resale assessment applied at the time of sale. And it could be negotiated as to the responsible party. Just on the implementation process side, if the resolution is approved this evening, this would be the third amendment to the declaration. And then it would begin a process of notifying residents of this change, and then a comment period. And then after that, there are a couple of different options of what could happen depending on the amount of comment we could record, or we'd have to take further steps there. And the effective date for this would be January 1st, 2026. And if approved, this would generate $150,000 estimated based on this sale of 500 homes of new revenue if approved. So happy to answer any questions on this one.
Any questions or comments from the board on this topic? Anybody over here? Question for you. How many, I don't know this offhand, I've seen a chart. How many homes are sold in Anthem annually?
We budget 500 or estimate 500.
That's what we're getting from the current enhancement fund?
We budget the sale of 500 homes every year, yes.
Okay. Does anybody have an opinion on this that they want to reference? Okay. Reading this, I'll just give you guys mine before we move to a vote. I would not be in favor of this. Any additional grabs for cash or anything like that on house sales, we already charge 1/4% fee. Regardless if it's $300, I would not be in favor of adding any fees to buy or sell a home here. So that being said, do we have a motion?
I move we approve Resolution 18.
Do we have a second? Okay, that being said, I apologize. I keep doing this. I keep going to board discussion and comment before we go to a motion. Is there any motion or any comment from the board? Anything from residents in Anthem on this topic? Ma'am, please, if you would approach the podium. And And that light, if you press that little light to turn it green.
Hi, it's Linda Luciano, 1829 West Eastman Drive.
Thank you, Linda.
Anthem Country Club. So I'd like to understand a little better. So it's $300 if I'm selling my home in addition to the other percentage that I have to pay?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And are you going to put this up to the vote to the owners, or it just gets voted here?
The board would be the one who would approve it.
Okay. Well, I agree with Dino. I would not like it to happen. So thank you for letting me have my input.
Well, thank you for speaking your mind. I appreciate it.
May I have a question. So last time we did have pretty good discussion about it, and someone created a graph that talked about other communities that do have an additional assessment fee. And all those assessment fees are always negotiable between buyer and seller. So it isn't the assumption that the seller would always have to pay. It's always negotiable. So I just wanted to bring up those items.
So it's saying that those other communities are paying a disclosure fee, a resale assessment fee. They are also paying a community enhancement fee. They're paying a rush fee. They're paying an update fee.
Correct. So one point of clarification, if you go to these other communities, they don't all call it resale assessment. They call it different things, but those are the total of the other fees that they pay that we don't charge. Does that make sense? So if you look at it, we're trying to make this as apples to apples as we could. But that would be the sum total of the other communities. And the average is $300 there in those communities. I will say this does go to operating. So if it's not approved, we would need to balance the budget a different way by increasing assessments.
Okay. Anybody else? Bob? What? Your light's on. I wasn't sure if you wanted to say something.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a motion on the table. We'll open up to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. So that should be 6 votes to 7. You see that? All right. Motion passes.
I got it. Yeah.
And I'm sorry to be so disruptive over here, but my computer is dying, and supposedly we have a way to. Where is it?
I was tackling it for 30 minutes over here.
I did open it. Oh, okay. I didn't see it. Sorry.
It'll just take you about 25 minutes and you'll get it.
Or if you want to crawl on the ground and do it and have an embarrassing moment there.
Well, while Barbara's doing that, she's connecting for power. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next item, which is Resolution 2025 R16, approval of the 2026 ACC budget. This should be an easy one since we've been talking about it for 4 months.
Thank you,
Director Baker. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope it is a straightforward thing. I will spare you the presentation because it is almost 8:30 tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions. I do want to say during yesterday's Finance Committee meeting, they brought up a proposal that Director Duckworth alluded to that I want to make sure you're aware of, so that if you say, hey, I would like to pursue that, then we can implement that because we would need to implement that tonight. What they brought forward was they suggested right now we're budgeted to transfer $444,000 from enhancement to operating. They proposed reducing that by $100,000. So it would go from 444 down to 344. Right now, the current assessment monthly assessment increase is budgeted to be $2.24. That would increase it to an even $3 per month increase. So right now, we're like 2.7. That's what I thought. We're at 2.7. Thank you. And it would go to 3.6% increase. Last year we were at 4% and $3.58. So we're less than last year. What this would do is it would keep $100,000 in enhancement without severely impacting residents, but it would help kind of whittle away a little bit at that. and it takes a step in weaning the operating budget off the enhancement fund. So what that would look like is, we've talked about this before at past meetings, the ACC would transfer the lesser of $344,000 or 50% of the enhancement fund revenue from home sales. That's kind of the synopsis there. I will say one thing, this does give us a little bit of cushion, because right now in the operating budget, it says $444,000. If we don't hit $888,000 of revenue, we will have a budget shortfall in the operating budget because the amount won't be transferred over. If we were to reduce it down to 344, that would actually give us a little bit of a cushion to work with, because it would be the lesser of 344 or 50% of the enhancement revenue. And I'll be honest, if the enhancement revenue drops that much to where we're below $344,000 in sales, $688,000, we have larger problems going on in the community than this. I realize this is kind of a last minute suggestion that the finance committee brought up, but I wanted to bring it forward to you for your consideration. So again, currently the budget shows a $2.24 a month assessment increase, that 2.7%. If you wanted to go to the $3 there, that would be a 3.6, but that would save $100,000 in enhancement. It would stay there for future projects. So either way, we can do it either way. Just let us know your thoughts.
I just want to
Hold on one second, Dave. Would this be the resolution as is? Is that without this recommendation?
Correct. It's without, because I had to publish it on Thursday and they brought this up yesterday.
All right, thanks. Dave, go ahead.
I just wanted to stress that the Finance Committee has had historically, I'm told, a lot of angst regarding the transfer of enhancement dollars to fund operations. And so the creative idea that came out yesterday, which I just want to stress was unanimously agreed to, was this interim step to create a little more honesty in the budgeting process, and at the same time have minimal impact on residential assessments.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have a comment? Okay, actually, I'll open it up to a motion.
I move we approve resolution 16 modified by the recommendation of the finance committee to decrease the enhancement fund transfer to $344,000.
It does.
Do we have a second? All right, Dave seconds. Okay, so we're going to open it up to board discussion on this topic, and then after board discussion, we'll go to resident discussion. Mark?
So I trust the work that the finance committee did, but I also heard a report about how great the finances are and the interest alone. I feel like keeping that rate as low as possible, the 2.5 or whatever we said it is, I think we keep it as low. I think that it can stay 444. I don't think we need $100,000. That's a lot of money, but not in the Anthem big picture. It's not. I think we keep the monthly cost to the resident, the increase as low as possible, and we keep that $100,000 in there. I don't think it's really worth the bite.
Appreciate that. Anybody else?
Of course, I'm all in favor of not taking our enhancement funds for operational. That's a thing that happened a couple years ago. We need that left over for projects, and some of the projects that we want to do are things that will decrease our expenses. For instance, possibly adding solar. So I'm in favor of the suggestion from the Finance Committee so that we can build that enhancement fund and do those kinds of things that could save us more in the long run.
Thanks, Barb. Bob?
This is a humorous aside. If this passes as I presented it, this will be the first time in 11 years that we followed the advice of the finance committee.
Well, that's good. That's actually really funny.
If I could add a comment.
Yes, Dave.
That's actually an important statement, what he just said, because they're representing the community. They're volunteers like we all are, and they have felt dramatically shunned by this board historically. And I'm new to the board. I'm just repeating what I'm hearing. I'm the messenger here. So this would go a long ways to showing representation from the residents, being represented by the board. So I just wanted to stress that.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody else? I will make a comment that just to kind of provide some historical guidance here on why the enhancement fund is so drawn from currently. In the past, we would bring up things like pickleball or the dog park or the skate park, and then we pulled from the enhancement fund, and those projects require an operating cost, right? And so there are people in this community who don't have dogs, who don't use the dog park, they don't play pickleball, and they don't skateboard. And so the agreement that we came up to with the community in those times, and Bob can reference to this, and Barb, when you were lobbying for the pickleball courts, the common conversation was that we will not affect the monthly dues, and your dues will not be affected by these programs when we build these amenities. And so by doing this, we are essentially saying that we are going to begin raising dues in the operating fund, or the assessments that people are going to have to pay more assessments in Anthem to pay for the operations of the programs that we created with the enhancement fund dollars and that we all agreed upon then. So while I think that at first glance, that's a great idea, because we don't want to eliminate the enhancement fund. But the enhancement fund in its own right is kind of self-eliminating. At one point, we run out of land, we run out of things to be able to build, and then at one point, we kind of just, the river meets the road, and we fund the operations of those types of things. But to give the historical context, by voting on this, you would be saying that the agreement that was created prior to greenlight all these projects, we're going to shift that cost onto every Anthem resident to run, other than just the enhancement dollars. Yeah, Dave, go ahead.
Last comment, and that is that the strategy was also discussed such that the recommendation would be that many, if not all, future enhancement projects would either be revenue producing or cost reducing, which would counter that whole, we have to raise assessments every time. So if we follow that strategy, then we can get through this without inordinately abusing our residents.
So, sorry, go flush that one out a little bit more for me, just so that we understand.
Using Barb's idea.
Mm-hmm.
So investing in solar that potentially could be a long-term cost reducer could be an enhancement project that adds, again, cost reduction.
Okay, I appreciate that. Nothing more from the board on this? Yes, Brian. Well, Brian, if hold on, is it on this topic? Okay, why don't you come to the podium and go ahead and turn that green light on and speak into the microphone, please.
As a 25-year resident of Anthem, I agree with what Dino and Dave were saying. Less money towards enhancement and more towards operation and keeping up the current amenities.
Thank you, Brian. Any other comment? Yes, please.
I have a clarification. What's the reserve fund versus the enhancement fund?
You can go ahead and answer it. Yeah, I can do it too.
The reserve is funded by assessments, so a portion of the assessments that are collected every year are then transferred into the reserve fund. It's a pool of money that's set aside to repair existing facilities. So as we need new whatever here in this facility, let's say new furniture, or we need to paint something, that Anthem actually doesn't, the ACC actually doesn't have any roads, but within Country Club, yes. So yes, for your Country Club example, absolutely. There's another good example. But enhancement is 1/4% of every home sale that's executed, and that is for projects generally that are to enhance the community. Legally, it's also allowed to be used for operating, so we use it to pay for the operation of past enhancement projects.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. That being said, we'll go ahead and move to a vote on Bob's motion and Dave's second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So show of hands real quick. That's 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's 3 votes. All opposed, say nay. Nay. Okay, that's 4 opposing. So the motion does not pass, it fails. We have a alternative motion, potentially the one suggested here to approve for the budget. Does anyone have a motion to approve the budget?
I will motion to, I need to figure out the wording here real quick.
Yeah, it's in this, on the bottom, you could say adopt resolution 2025 R16.
Let me see. To keep it at the lower.
Would be as presented, yeah.
Basically as presented. I propose that we keep it as presented.
Do we have a second there? Okay. Is there any board discussion? Okay, any discussion from residents? No, okay, we'll go to a vote. All in favor say aye, and then raise your hand. Aye. Okay. All opposed? Opposed? Did you vote yes, Laura? You were yes. Okay, so the resolution to pass the budget, 2025 R16 passes, and that was 5-2. Okay, moving on to number 10, future board agenda items. Is there anything that board members would like to bring up on future board meetings? Okay, looks like nothing. And then we'll go ahead to move to 11, open discussion. Currently, we have one submission by Brian Stovall. And then we'll open it up after Mr. Stovall speaks. Brian, you have 3 minutes.
So I think we just talked about some things, and I voiced my opinion. I don't think we should be working on enhancements when there is a lack of current amenities. So Dino, I talked to you and Dave out in the parking lot a couple months ago, and you acknowledged that there's less landscaping, trees, and things in Anthem West. So I encourage anybody to take a drive down Anthem Way. What you'll see in front of Walmart, basically 50 feet where the trees have been removed but not replaced. Okay? The issues are here in Anthem East as well. The photos. So I took a bike ride down Gavilan Peak Parkway. Okay? I haven't seen a javelina over here for 5 years, yet that exists. Okay, so if we can increases the operating budget, increases the landscaping budget, and Mike can get some help, I'm all for it, okay, because we need that. So something we need to realize here is that we can't continue enhancements. Okay, and I gotta say this, I am honestly dumbfounded, okay, by the fact that we have $21 million. We are putting trees in the dog park, and there are dozens and dozens of trees that have just been ripped out, cut down in Anthem West, but not replaced. Okay, we can't continue to enhance the community, because what happened is when residents moved in, and I know you're keeping time, I've got notes, but I want to touch on this. Okay, when people signed a contract and became part of this community, they did so with the community looking a certain way. When I moved in 25 years ago, Okay, the community, it was great. I mean, I was here when Anthem was voted the top master plan community in the country. I was here. It was beautiful. Okay, but we've got off on these projects. Pickleball, I played pickleball once. Okay, don't take my dog to the dog park. Okay, a lot of things that a lot of people don't use, but when people signed that initial contract, they did so, they looked at the community and the way what it looked like. Okay, and I really feel like residents have been let down. Okay, so I sent the email. I asked that Gabe forward the email to the board. Did everyone see the email that I sent to Aaron?
Yep, we did.
Okay, great. So Aaron, we walked by that like 2 years ago, my friend, and that has remained like that, despite the fact that I gave another notice like 4 months ago. When will that be fixed? I mean, someone came in and did a project. There's a big pile of dirt and a bunch of rocks sitting there. I've asked that that be cleaned up. When is it going to happen? You know, I mean, stuff like that. That stuff exists. The photos that are going around there. That's been there for years. Look at that. That's been there for years, and no one's doing anything about it.
All right, Brian, thank you so much.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you for coming tonight. Your feedback is...
I do think my message is getting through, and I will give credit where credit is due, because some of the things that I've sent emails to you about, Aaron, Mike, have been resolved. But I think there's a lot of work still to do.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. And I'll leave it at this. You have had obviously a direct line of contact to both Aaron Baker and Mike Krask, and that's about as good as it gets. So they're working on it, and I can see you around. So thank you so much for coming in today. Is there any other comments from residents? Okay. If no other comments from residents, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a second. All right. Director Hartman seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right. All opposed? No one? All right. We're adjourned.
We have a Anthem Way Foundation meeting after this to approve the budget. So if you want to do a quick bio break, or if you want to do the Anthem Way Foundation meeting right now, it's just to approve the budget.
Unless anyone's got a... Can we just skip in and go fast?
I have one question, Aaron.
Yes, sir.
How is the Anthem Way investments getting managed?
They are in CDs at MidFirst Bank. So they're on a laddered CD system there.
You're responsible for that?
Finances, yes. Yeah, we need to open it to do the spiel, but.
Okay. All right, we're going to call the Anthem Way Foundation board meeting to order. It's 8:45. We have 6 of 7 board members. I have 4 kids. I'm sorry. Scott, did you appreciate that one? Okay. I know. My kids, I'm like, I don't know why I'm just affected by it. All right. So we have a quorum. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. All right, second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion or the agenda is adopted. And now we'll go to open discussion. Those wishing to make a comment about matters that are not on the agenda can do so during this agenda time. Those wishing to provide comment on specific agenda items should do so during the particular agenda items. Parties interested in providing comment on agendized and non-agendized items must complete a question comment form prior to the start of the meeting and submit it to the recording secretary. I don't think we have any open discussion, so we're going to go ahead and move to new business. Resolution AWF 02, approval of the 2026 Anthem Way Foundation budget. Director Baker.
Any questions? I'll answer any questions. I want to talk about it.
Any questions from the board? No questions from the board. No questions from residents. Mr. Barber, do you have like to approach the podium? I'm just kidding. All right. Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt resolution 2025-AWF-02.
A second? All right. Director McKenzie seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. All right. And I lost my spot.
Adjournment's the last.
Okay, and then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Dr. McKenzie motions. Do we have a second? Director Barbie seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.